don't mind tonight. Play per Eva.
Depends. Will your friend, the footballer, be there?
Oh, friend, football friend.
Oh, what a superb goal. Stefan Moore, that is extraordinary from Ben Garuccio.
Hello guys and welcome back to another episode of Football Friends with Ben and Stef here to talk a little bit more about football. Stef, how's your weekend been? How's football over there in Vietnam at the moment?
Yeah, it's not too bad. We had the weekend off from games because of our Champions League match this Wednesday, so they're very accommodating here, the league, with postponing games. We're going to have about 14 games in hand by the end of the season, I reckon. But we played the Shopee Cup game, the one that we were speaking about last week, and we won 6-1. We had our second team out. They had pretty much their first 11 out. And it was, like, looking back now, I think it was probably the worst possible result for us, because now it's almost like there's all this pressure on us. We had our second team out. They got used, they would have seen the pitch, they would have seen roughly the style, and now everybody's saying, oh yeah, we should, like, you should win easy. Obviously, internally, we're not saying that, but I think, like, that would fire them up. And yeah, it was just one of those matches where every chance we had just went in, and they missed a lot of theirs. So I don't think the score was that reflective of it, but we'll see Wednesday night. So when this is airing, I guess, make sure you guys tune in later this evening to watch me play.
Yeah, you've got 2 games in hand on Ninh Binh now. You guys are obviously sitting top of the league, but seems pretty straightforward to me. If I was the gaffer, I'd be saying, well, you know what? Second stringers, you boys are going out again. You've earned your spots. Stef, in the stands, son.
On the point. Well, it's actually like I had a chat with him 2 days ago, because he was literally talking about, we was just having a bit of a chat about the different possibilities, and he's really good with talking, and I just literally said, like, I think this is maybe how we can build up better. This is the players maybe that work best chemistry wise, but at the end of the day, it's your decision. And then yesterday, match day -2, where we did our tactical session, like, we actually did 4 times 12 minutes, 11v11, and he changed the 11, like, not every player obviously, but different combinations, and one of them was the second, like, technically the second team. Because yeah, you like, as a coach, you're probably like, well, these guys played so well, like, I need to see and need to really think about this, because it's just, yeah, it's a difficult problem for him to have, because we have the foreigners in, Champions League and Shopee Cup that can play, but in the league they can't. Only 3 of us can play. So it's almost like he said, it's easier for him to make the decision then, because it is what it is. So yeah, we've got a tough decision, but our bench will be really, really strong, and I'm sure we're going to need that, for both games, and you just never know how it will pan out. So let's see. Hopefully I'm starting. If not, it'll be frustrating, but that's the way it goes. If someone else gets a chance to play and they do well, that's it, right? You start them again, similar to probably you guys had Joe Lolly on the bench. I know he's been injured, but you win the derby, you think we'll keep the same starting team out there. But you lose this game, I'm sure he's straight in next week now because of that, right?
Yeah, well, I don't know. We'll see what the gaffer decides, but yeah, bit of a frustrating one, and I suppose it seems like we're kind of just repeating ourselves, but the consistency is just not there, unfortunately. So this one was, yeah, a little bit frustrating, because it's a massive game. We knew it was going to be a tough game. I think the way that we conceded the goal, personally for me, is very frustrating, because I think I could have done a lot better in that. And then you kind of just angry after the game, because you're like, fucking hell, we lose 1-0. I know the game maybe could have had more goals. We had a couple of chances, but obviously pushing bodies forward, you're going to be open on the counter, and we were very open. And I think probably if it wasn't for Harrison Devonish Mears, who's having an absolute breakout season, I think he should potentially be a bolter for the Socceroos, but we'll see if that eventuates, because for me, he's been the best keeper in the league. Like, the amount of times he's saved us points this year has been ridiculous. But yeah,
What's
we'll
the
we'll see.
nose?
Us
The
the
nose
nose
tape
tape. Yeah, I don't know. He's obviously uses it to breathe better, I think, in games.
for getting
Uh,
fatigued.
yeah, I don't know why he plays with it. He was a bit under the weather for this game. Obviously, he's my roomie, so we get along very well. But yeah, he was a little bit sick for this game. I said to him after the game, maybe you need to be sick for every game because if you're pulling out saves like that, like for me, that's save of the season by a country mile. That's a tap in header. It's a diving header. He's literally on the 6 yard box, headed it with full force, and he somehow saved it. So yeah, frustrating. I suppose the only silver lining is we get to play him again in 10 days. We obviously play Adelaide this weekend, and then we play Auckland again on Tuesday. So it's one of those where we keep putting ourselves in these positions where we need to bounce back, and we've been doing it so far. But hopefully now we can string a few consecutive wins together because we got Adelaide at home, Auckland at home on the Tuesday, and then we got Brisbane again. So it'll be good. We got a good couple of weeks coming up.
Yeah, it's I guess literally, yeah, like you said, it's the tale of the league for everyone, bar probably the Newcastle Jets of late. And yeah, I think obviously, you can be harsh on yourself for that goal. And I messaged you afterwards, said the commentators gave you a bit of shit as well, said, Gariccia's getting caught out, but it was just after Alex Grant made the tackle on someone and got a yellow, so I think they got a little bit confused. But it's one of those ones as well where, I looked at your performance and I thought you were quite good going forward. Maybe, the more attacking you are, obviously the harder it is to get back and cover spaces and everything
Mm.
like that. But that's the nature of it. Everybody is expected to do everything in every position, and sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. Yeah, I think you guys, you just like exactly what you touched on. The consistency isn't there, which is going to make it hard to kind of string those wins together because of the way the league is. But I think like the Adelaide game, and then what you got Auckland as well at home. Like those two really can set your season up for that push for the top spot or at least top two. But if you lose both of those, then you start to kind of question. Top six is could be thrown up there. Do you make that because of how tight it is? So we'll see. We'll see how it goes, but besides that, I think the team that stuck out the most, right? Or actually, before we go on to that, AP, is he coming? Have you heard? Is it confirmed?
Look, I have had a message on Instagram just in the last couple of days. So, a few questions. I think it's very, very close. Well, I think it's actually done. I think it is done
Yeah.
now.
When
So
does the
I don't I
window
don't want
close
to.
in
Yeah, I
Australia?
don't know. I don't know what's going on because everyone said I think today was the last day. Yeah, I don't know.
Today.
Window closes today, but what I do know is that Stama's coming, and I think it's a pretty big signing for us. I think our team is already very strong, but I think he's coming in. Obviously, he wants to be on that World Cup squad. It's a chance for him now to come in and come into a really good team, a team that's in a strong position on the ladder. If he scores, what do we got? Let's say probably 12 to 15 games, let's say, give or take, how far you go in finals. You don't know. If he gets, 6, 7 goals, it's a pretty strong shout. And obviously, you've got a lot of players that have come back. So hopefully for us, he'll hit the ground running. But it'll be
Yeah.
good. I've not played with him since the Adelaide United days.
Yeah, I think the again we spoke about this last week, like when's the smart time to come back and when's not. I think coming on loan like him is not a bad one at his age. Like I'm assuming he's got another year left on his deal at Motherwell. So it's kind of like one of those ones that if he's not playing there, like really not playing, he had that small injury. Because he was scoring and Motherwell were doing okay when I last checked anyway. But if you want to get into that squad and you think, you know what, this is a chance, you come back to Sydney FC on loan, like you said, and you've got the chance to play whatever it is, 12, 13 games. Juki's come back, he's scored a couple of goals. I think everybody's, Mohamed Toure, he's got the move in this window and he's scored first game for Norwich. So the competition is heating up, and I think the only way to, I guess, really press your claim is as a striker, especially just score. Like
Mm.
you score goals, and a coach is going to want to take players that are in form at the end of the season because that's, it's the bias of it. Like I remember Vince Grella always used to say it as an agent to me. Don't worry about what happens in the first half of the season. What happens at the end of the season, that's when you get paid your money. That's when you get your transfer. That's when you get your moves. That's when you get, I guess, the limelight because that's all anybody remembers, doing it when it matters. So I think for you guys and the way you're playing, it'll be interesting. I assume you're now going to go with two up top. Campazzuno, if I've said that right, or Campazano, just doesn't look like he can play a number nine on his own. Like he's more of a link-up striker, and in the A-League, he's kind of just getting dominated when you guys look to play those clip balls in. I don't need you to comment on that, obviously, but um, it just seems like he would actually benefit a lot off, a striker running in behind, being able to hold the play up, and AP at the Jets was on fire with all of that and scoring. So him and Campusano up top with Lolly on one side, and then whoever get, I guess, Pisca or is on the other side. But also like Thiago Quintal for me, like he needs to keep playing as well because he can play as another 6'8" potentially next to Ocon. But it's a good problem to have that if he's gonna have to decide who's playing. Um, so let's see how you guys kind of gel together.
Yeah, we still got Al Hassan Toure to come back from injury as well. Obviously, he was involved in the last Socceroos camp. He's obviously now missed the last, I think, 6 or 7 weeks with a calf issue, so he'll come back. So yeah, depth is not the issue, and I think if you're looking at quality on paper, we've definitely got it. So it's about translating that into results because if you look at Jets, they're absolutely flying. If you looked at their team on paper, I don't think anyone could argue that the quality is the same of teams like Sydney, of teams like Western Sydney. Well, Western Sydney are sitting bottom, so Newcastle on top, and I would say Western Sydney have got one of the strongest squads on paper as well. So it's not always the best players, but I think having firepower is never going to hurt. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
exciting times.
no, exactly right.
On to some Asian football. Obviously, something that you're right into at the moment, Steph. Obviously, you've got the ACL2 coming up, which is exciting. Obviously, on the other side, you've got MacArthur playing Bangkok United, and then hopefully you boys get through and you'll play MacArthur. Let's hope for.
Yeah, and then where are we going? St. Michael's to play 18 holes. Oh, I
Off to
looked it
St.
up. Hey, you've
Michael's.
you've actually got the weekend off.
Well, if you're in MacArthur, and we're talking about itineraries here, and it hasn't even happened yet, and you should be focusing on football. But if you are in MacArthur, we can play Macquarie Links. It's a very nice course. I've been there a couple of times and shot astronomical scores. Very hard.
Very hard course, but good for me to test myself. And it's funny because I looked it up, and you, for whatever reason, I don't know why Sydney, why you guys have a bye. Maybe you're meant to play MacArthur or City or something, and they've postponed that game. But you play the weekend before I come, and then you have that next weekend off. So hopefully you've got a few days off there early in the week. We could play either the 11th or the 12th of March. So it's yeah, it's looking very good. But like you said, football first. We need to get the job done, and MacArthur need to beat Bangkok. But then going into the elite, Melbourne City are in Korea. I saw they were having Korean barbecue, which looked very nice. Hopefully they're focusing on football and not just worrying about the sake and the Korean beef. But they win this, and they've guaranteed. I think they're through to the next round. And some other Aussies we've got in focus. I guess you've got your old boss, and well, technically my old boss as well, but more of recent times you, JA, making his debut against Buriram United. So that will be interesting. Mark Jackson and John Aloisi, two, I guess, A-League coaches going up against and then you've also got Machida, where Tete Yengi signed, and Shanghai Port with Muscat. So we've got quite a lot of Aussies involved with the elite, and I actually saw the elite competition may look to expand to 32 from 24 teams, which would be, I think, which is better. 24, like, is obviously good, but probably maybe means a Vietnamese slot could open up for us to get in the elite.
What would it mean for the Aussies?
maybe another spot. I don't know. I guess you've got to get eight more teams. Do they take four from the east, four from the west? I don't know how they'll do it because you've already got quite a few Japanese and Korean. I think you've got three Japanese already with Sanfrecce, Vissel Kobe, and Machida. You've got three Korean. I think you've got three Chinese. You don't really. I don't think you need to have another one from those countries. Like it's better to go to, maybe in Australia to have a second team or Malaysia or Thailand, for example. I think that's if you want to expand the game, I think that's better. Otherwise, it just becomes too dominant of like the bigger countries. So we'll see if they do expand anyway. But either way, good times for Australian coaches and players with Asian football because it's you're playing on that world stage, and it's good to I guess it's good for the Australians just to show themselves and China especially. We've got all those coaches there now. It's going to be interesting to see how John goes in his first game there.
Yeah, absolutely. We had Tommy Glover as well. His first game in Japan. He's obviously one of our first guests. I think we had on the pod, Tommy.
And he started to vlog a bit, which I rate. I like it. I've seen some of the boys commenting on his post, but I like it. I think it's good. Whatever you want to say, you're gonna look back probably if he keeps consistently doing it, and he'll be like, "Fuck, those first ones were shit or embarrassing or whatever." But you know what? Content is key, and the more content you do, the better you'll get, and the better it will be. So I'm sure the Japanese fans would be absolutely loving it, knowing them anyway.
Yeah, they are loving it. I've seen all the comments on it. I think it's fucking hilarious because he's like going through these doors, and obviously the guy's like 7 foot. Obviously the Japanese people are not, known for being tall, and yeah, it's fucking hilarious. And he's
He
an
looks like he's
absolute,
bowing to everyone.
yeah, he's a classic, that guy. So anyway, back home, and obviously we briefly started to speak about it, but the Jets extend the club record to the sixth straight win, beating Adelaide. Did you see the game? What did you think of it? Because the Jets are fucking flying at the moment.
I did. I thought it was again like it's so. I know I'm going to go off track here, but I saw the comments as well, which we can talk about afterwards. Of Adam Peacock saying there was a scout from was it Sweden or Norway, about saying that like the Australian players look physically like they weren't able to kind of do those repeat sprints, for example, and that was, and maybe that's true. I don't have the exact details. Maybe we can try and search that up. But what people don't realize is, and if you're in the stands, it's so different compared to when you're out there. Like I was watching that game live on TV, and I thought it was intense. I thought the Jets played really good football. I thought Adelaide did the exact same thing, tried to play out from the back, but you could just tell it was hot, obviously, and that limits the quality a tiny bit. So you could imagine if that's played, when it's 15 degrees at night time or in Europe, and you're able to run and fight a little bit more, the level will go up even higher. The pitch is a bit more slick. So that's something that we can discuss later and maybe next episode around that once we get some statistics, because I'm sure with everything we can find those repeat sprints and everything. But the Jets, I think they deserved the win probably. But in saying that, Adelaide had that really good chance with Alagic with the header when he's just put it into the side netting, and if he scores that, then it's a completely different game. But also just before Adelaide scored their first, I think Lockie Rose had one to maybe that was to go 3-1 up. I'm not sure exactly, but it's just football's just fine margins in those games, and if you take your chances, obviously that's sometimes the biggest difference. But away from home to get that result, I think they are building their case to be the favourites, and I think they're the team to beat now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And obviously Ayrton Andreoli was not the only coach this week to have questions about the officials. Well, obviously, a lot of stuff came out with Valkanis, but what do you make of, I suppose, these press conferences, and obviously the coaches coming out and venting their frustrations around the officiating and particularly VAR?
I think they're different. I think Ayrton's he's a very cool, calm guy. I think now that he's in the spotlight a bit more, and like going from youth football to this, like you do feel pressure a lot more. So I'm sure he's changing a little bit. But I actually agree with what he said, and I think that the offside one, yeah, well, VAR, maybe Johnny Yule, for example, when he plays that, well, maybe, Burkett was offside and they gave it offside. So that's fine. It is what it is. I just agree 100% with VAR. I think it's shit for the game. I think you've seen the shit show with Liverpool and Man City. Technically, if you want to be robotic around it and around the rules, they did, like, as soon as I was watching that, I was watching it on delay, but as soon as I saw it, I was like, two wrongs don't make a right. Like, you can't allow advantage, for example, and then not pull the other guy back. So I was like, well, it has to be the first thing. So Szoboszlai has to get sent off, but just give the goal. Like, that makes the most sense. Armiento, for me, for example, maybe it was a soft penalty, and he does play for free kicks a little bit, I would say, like in a smart way. He leaves his leg in there. He's good with manipulating the ball. But for me, it was a penalty, and it wasn't clear and obvious. So, like, I just don't really understand now, like, how you can say the game is getting decisions right more often when I think everything's still up for debate, and you're just spending so long looking at the same action over and over again. And that's what I think is the most frustrating thing. And I think that's what Ayrton was alluding to with fans. Like, they're not going to celebrate soon because they're going to be like, or even players sometimes, you score and you look over and you're not really sure. And it's easier for the linesman, I think, to give it offside than to not give it offside. So I just don't like it, but I believe FA need to keep VAR so the refs can be eligible for international tournaments. So I don't think they'll be stopping it. But if you had $1 million extra in your pocket, not your physical pocket, but in the APL's pocket to spend on the game, do you think keeping VAR is gonna get more fans through the gates, or do you think spending $1 million on, local area marketing, for example, would be a better way to use it?
Yeah, I think if you ask about it like that, yeah, definitely spending it on marketing. Look, I don't know how much $1 million gets you, but I think it would definitely help in terms of people through the gates, in terms of potentially people knowing about the game a little bit more and making it easier for people to see that A-League is on. But it's just hard because they're not going to take it away. Let's be honest, they're not taking VAR away. I think there's been so much huff and puff about VAR, about everything that's all the wrongs about it, and there's never ever been a moment where you think maybe they actually might take it away. But if you had the mill, what would you do? Would you be looking at it in terms of local marketing?
Yeah, I think like $1 million, like, it sounds like a lot, but when you actually like break it down into, like, all right, there's 13 or 12 teams, so then you're like, well, it's under $1 million each, whatever it is, like 800 odd thousand. And I think if you gave each team 800,000 and said, listen, this money needs to be spent, and it needs to be spent on either youth development within the academy, marketing for your games, or on a marquee player, for example, I think that would be a better way to use. Sorry, $80,000, not $800,000. So it's not going to get you that far with players, but maybe the youth academy, that's an extra coach, maybe, hiring someone to do individual development, couple of scholars potentially. But like you said, FIFA have never come out and said that they're going to disclose whether, or they're going to decide whether they're going to take it away or not. I think it's here to stay. They just need to make it better somehow, and I don't know how they do, because it's still the individuals making those decisions. So I think it's here to stay. I don't like it. I don't think any player likes it, and I think we do give the refs a hard time. And like Brisbane Roar, I'm the biggest moaner on the pitch for referees, and for me that's around like that. I'm in the game. I'm talking shit to other players. I'm talking shit to myself. I'm talking shit to the referees. That's just the way I am to kind of make, like, that's how I know I'm in the game. I could probably do it a bit better at times and not give the referee as much stick as what I do. But once the game's finished for me, it's never, like, I would never really go and say something to the referee. Once it's done, it's done. And I think where Michael Valkanis obviously has come out and penned this open letter apologising for his behaviour, I think there's that line of, like, we want to win and we're going to do everything we can to win. And then there's also that fine line of like, all right, are we making excuses? And as a player, like if you're hearing your coach always talk about the referees and decisions, it's like that confirmation bias. You're just going to look for it as a player. So even during the matches, you're going to, I think, get worked up about decisions that go against you, and decisions go against you in every game. So I think, I reckon maybe he's had a realization of, all right, maybe I've got to rein this in a bit because yes, I'm being competitive, talking about winning at all costs, but maybe I'm letting my frustrations get the better of me. Obviously, he got sent off, which isn't great because he's now not able to be probably, on the ground. So what do you think about it? Like as a player, like if that's the case, like, you're the same. You're obviously having an absolute meltdown with Alex King on the weekend. But once the game finishes, I think you have to kind of let it go, right? Like you can't just walk into the sheds and be complaining about it, can you?
Yeah, I think I'm the exact same. Like when you're out there, you're right on the edge, and I think as a senior player, you kind of get to know what maybe is a foul, what isn't, and I think some of those ones on the borderline, you're like, you know what, you can live with it. Maybe you think it's wrong, but no point complaining too much. I think the one on the weekend with Kingy, and I fucking let him know about it because
What did he say? What did he say back to you?
no, he was actually really good. Like he was a lot calmer than I was, thankfully. But I was like, Kingy, come on, like. Yeah, the ball's gone over the guy's head. Like if I knock one down the line and I get taken out, but it goes over for a goal kick, let's say, like you don't give those because I was never getting to the ball. That's what you'll say to me. I said, I just stand my ground. He jumps. He doesn't get there anyway. The ball's clearly going out for a throw in. I just stand my ground. How can that? This is not what I said, actually. It was that times, it was that times 50 and probably a swear word every second word. But I'm not going to repeat everything. And he said, Benny, he goes, look, maybe it was wrong, but you're losing it. You're going up to the linesman. You're going up to me. He goes, do you really want to get a yellow card in the 4th minute? And I was like, yeah, all right. I agree. I agree with that. So get on with it. But I'm the same. Like once the game finishes, and I think I was the same in the derby, I went up to the refs afterwards and I was like, sorry that I was an absolute drainer tonight during the game. But you're just like, you're wanting them to make the right calls. You're wanting them to make the right calls, especially for your team. You don't really care so much if it's a wrong call for the other team. But yeah, it's hard. And then obviously post match, I think you can sometimes get caught up in it. Obviously the comments that I had after the derby, and I can understand where it comes from, and you're fighting and you're passionate about your own team. And I think Valkanis definitely is that. But obviously there is a line, and I think the fact that he's come out and written an apology probably shows that maybe he did cross that line. And I suppose we'll see now how he is going forward, because I think it's his second red card. And yeah, I think the frustrating thing for the Raw right now is their performances, this stuff that's coming out, and then to kind of compound everything, they've been forced to move another game away from Suncorp, which how many fucking times does this need to happen until I think the club definitely realizes. I think they're kind of handcuffed and can't do much, but Suncorp is just not a suitable venue for them to play their games. Even though it's great, it's just not. There's so much other stuff going on there. The pitch is consistently under par, and they're being left in a situation where they're not able to play at the stadium that they actually want to play at. So it's a bit of
Yeah.
a headache.
Yeah, it's yeah. There's obviously a lot to. I think Brisbane are doing a lot right this season, and I think the way Valkanis has been like for me the CEO, the football directors, all of these guys, they play a massive part in changing the culture. So like Kaz Patafta and Zach Anderson have been unbelievable, I'm sure, behind the scenes. But the reality is, if you don't get results on the field, like you can fucking say what you want and do what you want off the field, that fans are only going to listen to performances on the field. So what he's done is he's been able to kind of change the narrative around Brisbane, and he's got, I think, a lot of the Brisbane fans kind of buying into that. So I think, he has to get plaudits to that, and they were getting a lot of results earlier in the season. Now they've kind of dropped off a bit, kind of in line with Harrington actually leaving as well, the defensive side of things. So it shows how important he was. But yeah, there's that fine line, and then I just think this side of things, like you as a club are trying to do everything right to get crowds back, to kind of, to make some money as a club, so you're not always losing money. And then to get told, well, fuck, sorry, we're now having to move this game. And I don't know the finances behind whether they'll make money at, moving it to Dolphin Stadium versus leaving it at Suncorp. But just if there's another game at Suncorp after this, then, like if you're a fan, you're like, well, fuck, I'm not going to buy a ticket now for that. I'll wait till the last minute. And then if it's bad weather or you can't be bothered, you don't go. Where if you're buying them in advance because you're like, I was going to buy a 3-game flexi membership or whatever it was, you now take that out because people are like, well, what if the game's going to get moved? Then am I going to get my money back? And the headache around that. So a new stadium there needs to be built. Obviously, it's the most obvious choice. They've got the Olympics coming up. Have a 15, 20,000 seater stadium, perfect. For the Super Rugby to use it, for Brisbane Roar to use it, for Football Queensland to use it, for any smaller kind of games, even with the second division. Just makes so much sense because then they can have concerts there and they can have all of this extra stuff that it can hold 50 odd thousand, so it's perfect for that. But for football, especially when you need a good surface, it's not the place to be. And I don't know how it's going to change, but that's just the frustrating part. So we're not going to change it by talking about it on this podcast. Hopefully in Brisbane and for Brisbane football they can. But going around to a little bit of local league news, and I know we're a few days late to this, but we obviously haven't recorded until now. Did you see the stomp in the Sutherland Sharks Spirit game?
Yeah, that was a disgrace. That's what that was. I don't know what was said. I think I don't know what happened beforehand or if there was something said, but honestly, unless there was something really, really, really bad said, I can't understand how you can do that on a football field and think that that could be something that you might get away with.
Yeah. I wonder, was the camera from someone's phone, or was that from like they're recording the game? Because like it was obviously a weird angle, like directly behind the goal. So I'm assuming it had to have been someone's phone, unless the keeper sets up his phone there to video his saves to chuck them on Instagram. But yeah, like and he's gone down like to pretend that he didn't do anything as well. Like, so he's known he's done the wrong thing, obviously. And don't get me wrong, like sometimes behind the play it might be the odd elbow or you hit someone in the back, or step on their toes in a corner. That's kind of, it's not great, but it happens. Not with VAR because you can get caught for anything. But if you don't have VAR, you can. This was like, I don't know if the guy's got his ankle broken or not, but that was like, you end that guy's career potentially. He's a semi-professional player. You break his ankle or his leg or whatever you do to him, like that ends his career. And I know we lose our heads sometimes on the field, but that is like, there's a difference between, okay, like I'm going to fucking snap this person and yeah, I'm going to be an absolute dog here. And I don't know what the punishment's been if they've announced anything yet. I know the club stood him down, but for me, that's like you're banned. That's fucking 20 games. Like that's worse than headbutting someone. It's worse than punching someone. Like that's the season gone. Like, and you're probably going to struggle to find another club after that as well.
Yeah, well, what was it? Kevin Muscat on, who was it? What was his name?
Terror.
No, not
In the
on
A-League.
Terra. Yeah, on why I've just lost his name. But Kevin Muscat's challenge
Yeah,
on
yeah, sorry, the
Adrian, what was
Zara.
it?
Zara?
Adrian Zara? Yeah,
I
that
think so.
was, and I think back then he got 9 games. I remember Vukovic with the ref, I think got something like 9 or 10 games. And this is way worse. So who knows? Who knows? Yeah, I think you shouldn't be allowed to play football, to be honest. If you're doing something like that, that should be, yeah. If you're going to say 20, 25 games, and then hopefully he's just like, you know what, I'll just pack it in. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's not good.
But he might change. Like I don't think he should be banned forever because at the end of the day, like, I'm sure he's been playing for a long time and maybe never done anything that bad. So maybe like, I think, what do we got to believe in? Like, the rehabilitation of people. So give him a chance again because I think you need to. But like it's whatever they decide, they'll decide. I just think the hardest thing at that level is like another team being like, yeah, especially because I don't know if he's a good player or not. I haven't even looked into it, but like you're getting paid decent money at that level, so it's a lot of money that's gone. And then for another club to kind of fork out that cash to give you afterwards, when they're like, well, a bit of a red flag about this person, you've just ruined, yeah, you've ruined your career. You really got to start from the bottom, and yeah, it's not great. But on another note, man, these NPL boys, fucking hell, they'd be getting through the games. The ones that were playing in the second division last year's NPL, now this NPL. Like it feels like it only just stopped the second division, obviously in December, and now like 6 weeks later, or 7 weeks later, whatever it is, we're restarting. So they're going to be cooked, some of those boys, like because it's a second job. So I feel bad for some of them with how they would be probably feeling right now, which is going to take its toll.
Yeah, they probably got a little bit of extra coin. I think they got a lot of exposure. Some boys ended up getting contracts from it.
Mm.
Like boys like Ali Ogler and stuff. You got South Melbourne who are also playing in the OFC League. They've just had another round.
Yeah,
And then now started the NPL. So those boys there probably haven't had a break at all. But I think for a lot of them, especially the ones that came from Western, are probably like, this is perfect because we've played all the way through. We're going to be fit potentially in June. I'm sure a lot of them are hoping to maybe get moves in this January window, but potentially in June you go, well, you know what? We played the Oz Championship. We played the OFC League. We've now been playing NPL. I've played this many games. So it's probably not a bad thing for them either, but
mm.
it's also,
Yeah,
it's a bit kind of scary when you look at those boys who are semi-professional and they're actually playing more games than the professional players here in the A-League.
yeah, which is wild. How like how you can literally have yeah, these guys playing 40, 50 games, and in the A League here we're sitting with 20, 30 games. So um anyway, that's just the current system. It doesn't make any sense. They obviously need to change it. I think one thing that needs to also be announced very quickly is the second division. Like, is it going to be the exact same format as last year? Are there more teams getting direct entries into it because they've got the cash? Is it the same teams, foundation clubs plus the winners? Um, Now is the time that Football Australia really need to ramp this up and actually plan it out better, because last one was very off the cuff, and I think it was a pass mark as we spoke about, but you need to prepare for it now, and these clubs that are in NPL need to also start preparing for it, because it's budgets, it's getting extra sponsors in, it's the players that want to sign at certain teams, it's getting the scheduling right, which I think they got really wrong last time with daytime games and starting the competition too late. So anyway, that's enough of that, because we could talk for probably another 2 hours about that. But before we go, we did speak about it, Project Orlando, getting him to Arsenal, and he has been doing some good stuff in the apartment here, but we needed the expert advice, so we spoke to a few guests, and the first one we've got dropping this Sunday is Mark Robertson, Alex Robertson's dad. And Alex, did you see just after we did this interview, Alex scored a
Scored a
double?
double.
So obviously we're good luck for him. Maybe we need to chat to his dad every single week. But it was a really, really fascinating chat. And we've got a few more coming. We've still got to reach out to a few more people as well. So if you know anyone that's son's playing professionally, that would be keen to do an interview, get them to get in touch with us.
Yeah, absolutely. No, they were good chats. They were good chats. There was someone else that we spoke to as well, a certain Adelaide United player's dad as well. He came back and got an assist, I think, straight off the bench. He literally got an assist like 1 minute later. So
Yeah.
maybe it's a thing. We might have to try and get Dill McAllister so Matthias can come on and score one for Sydney FC.
Yeah, I did ask Dill, and he didn't want to be in the limelight, and he wanted his son to just be the focus. But at the end of the day, if we're going to get his son a goal or an assist, he's got to jump on the
Exactly.
podcast. So
Absolutely.
no, it's really fascinating, really good. Also, Tom Bayer, who's that football starts at home from Japan. he's keen to jump on as well, which I think will be a good insight for parents out there to kind of tie a lot of this in. And there's, I think, a lot of similarities between yeah, players starting at a young age. And if your dad's a footballer or if your dad loves football, you probably just get them to play football because that's the way you can kind of bond with them. So very, very exciting to eventually do that one as well. But I think that's all we have time for. Make sure you tune in on Sunday afternoon on YouTube and your podcast feeds for the Alex Robertson chat with his dad, Mark, and hopefully he does score another double this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, guys, for listening in. Steph, thank you. All the best for your ACL2 match on Wednesday or tonight when this releases. And
Yep.
we'll see you guys all next week. Thank you.
So I was rolling him the ball, and you would clip it and it'd come back up to your hands. So I was like, it was like a soft ball, and each time it would come back up to my hands, and then it got to the stage, I reckon, at about he would have been 2. I just dropped the ball and it had bounced towards him, and he half volley it straight back up to my hands. And I was like, that's not normal, So then I kept going with it, and I was like, this guy's a freak, So yeah, and then as soon as he started half volleying it back to my hands, I know what it's like, and you guys know what it's like to hit a half volley sweep. And it was coming back at me with a bit of pace, and I was like, okay, good stuff, So I just kind of kept on at that. And then that was his sort of childhood in that sort of like, I'd say 9 months to 4 years old. That was just me being a father